The golden morning sunlight poured through the massive glass walls of the International Leadership Summit as hundreds of executives, entrepreneurs, and journalists filled the luxurious conference hall. Cameras flashed while successful CEOs shared their opinions about business, relationships, and the future. During a live interview, the host jokingly asked the brilliant young CEO, Charlotte Sinclair, if she would ever marry a single father. Smiling confidently before millions of viewers, Charlotte answered without hesitation, "Never. I need someone whose life isn't already complicated." The audience laughed and applauded. Sitting quietly in the last row was a modestly dressed man attending the conference on a scholarship for small business owners. He gently held his 6-year-old daughter's drawing in his hands and simply smiled. Neither Charlotte nor anyone else realized that before the day ended, one unexpected conversation with that single father would completely transform everything she believed about love, family, and success. If you believe kindness and second chances deserve a place in every heart, please like this video, share it with someone who believes true character matters more than appearances, leave a heartfelt comment, and subscribe to Kindness Paradise for more emotional stories filled with hope and inspiration. The single father was named Adrian Brooks. 4 years earlier, he had lost his beloved wife, Elise, after a sudden illness, leaving him to raise their daughter, Mia, alone. During the day, Adrian managed a small custom furniture workshop that specialized in handcrafted pieces built from reclaimed wood. The business earned enough to provide a comfortable life, but every decision he made centered around Mia's happiness rather than financial growth. To Adrian, success meant being home every evening to read bedtime stories instead of chasing endless promotions. Charlotte Sinclair had built Sinclair Innovations into one of the fastest-growing technology companies in the country. Brilliant, disciplined, and admired across the corporate world, she believed relationships required complete freedom and total focus on ambitious goals. Watching close friends struggle through difficult marriages had convinced her that dating someone already raising a child would only bring unnecessary complications. After the interview, conference guests gathered for networking sessions. Adrian quietly stood near an exhibition displaying handcrafted furniture donated by local artisans. One of the organizers accidentally knocked over an expensive display shelf. Before anyone could react, Adrian calmly caught it before it crashed to the floor, protecting several priceless handmade pieces. Charlotte happened to witness the moment. She walked over to thank him. Their conversation began with furniture craftsmanship but quickly shifted toward life, purpose, and family. Charlotte expected Adrian to complain about the difficulties of raising a child alone. Instead, he spoke about Mia with quiet joy. He described Saturday morning pancake traditions, school concerts, library visits, camping trips beneath the stars. Every memory carried gratitude rather than regret. Charlotte found herself unexpectedly listening longer than she had planned. She finally asked whether life had become harder after becoming a single father. Adrian smiled softly. He admitted that losing Elise had been the hardest experience imaginable. But loving Mia had also become the greatest privilege of his life. He explained that children do not prevent dreams. They simply teach adults which dreams truly matter. Those simple words stayed with Charlotte long after the conversation ended. Later that afternoon, conference organizers announced a surprise community service project. Executives would spend several hours renovating a children's learning center instead of attending another business seminar. Charlotte reluctantly joined the volunteer teams. To her surprise, she was assigned to work beside Adrian. And waiting excitedly inside the learning center was a cheerful little girl holding a paintbrush. Adrian's daughter, Mia. Within a single afternoon, Charlotte would experience something she had never expected. And it would begin to challenge every promise she had ever made about never marrying a single dad. Bright morning sunlight streamed through the colorful windows of the Children's Learning Center as volunteers unpacked paint, books, and furniture. Laughter echoed through the building while executives who usually spent their days inside boardrooms rolled up their sleeves for the first time in years. Charlotte Sinclair stood quietly with a paintbrush in her hand, still thinking about her conversation with Adrian Brooks. Across the room, little Mia greeted every volunteer with a cheerful smile, making everyone feel welcome despite being the youngest person there. Charlotte soon found herself painting a classroom wall beside Mia. The little girl spoke excitedly about her father, proudly explaining how he packed her school lunches, braided her hair after watching online tutorials, attended every school performance, and never missed bedtime stories, no matter how busy work became. There was not a single complaint in her voice about growing up without a mother. Instead, there was endless admiration for the father who had filled her life with love. Charlotte listened quietly. She had expected to see a child burdened by sadness. Instead, she saw a little girl surrounded by happiness. Later that afternoon, Adrian repaired broken bookshelves while several executives struggled to assemble simple furniture. Rather than showing off his skills, he patiently helped everyone finish their work. Whenever someone thanked him, he simply smiled and moved on to help the next volunteer. Charlotte noticed something remarkable. Every child naturally gathered around Adrian. Not because he tried to impress them, but because they felt safe with him. Watching Mia laugh beside her father awakened memories Charlotte had buried for years. As a child, her own father had rarely been home. Endless business trips had filled her childhood with expensive gifts instead of meaningful moments. Looking at Adrian, she realized that true success was not measured by how many meetings someone attended. It was measured by who waited happily for them to come home. That evening, after the renovation was complete, the Learning Center held a small celebration in the garden. As the children released colorful balloons into the clear blue sky, Charlotte quietly admitted to Adrian that she had judged single parents unfairly. She confessed that fear, not wisdom, had shaped her opinion. Adrian never criticized her. He simply said that life often changes our beliefs when we allow ourselves to truly know another person's story. Before they could continue talking, Charlotte's phone began ringing repeatedly. Her board of directors had called an emergency meeting. A major international investor had unexpectedly withdrawn from a billion-dollar partnership after questioning whether Charlotte possessed enough emotional leadership to guide a people-centered company. The criticism stunned her. The investor's report contained one sentence she could not stop reading. A leader who cannot appreciate the value of family will eventually struggle to understand the value of people. Charlotte slowly lowered the phone. For the first time, she wondered if the greatest obstacle in her career had never been competition. It had been the walls she had built around her own heart, and the decision she would make the following morning would surprise everyone who had ever known her. The next bright morning, golden sunlight filled the executive boardroom of Sinclair Innovations as directors, investors, and senior managers gathered for the emergency meeting. Everyone expected Charlotte Sinclair to defend her leadership after losing one of the company's biggest investors. Instead, she walked to the front of the room with calm confidence and surprised everyone with complete honesty. She admitted that she had spent years believing success meant protecting herself from anything that looked complicated. She confessed that during the leadership summit she had publicly declared she would never marry a single father because she assumed a family already carrying loss would only bring hardship. Looking around the room, she quietly acknowledged that she had judged people before taking the time to know their stories. The room remained silent. Charlotte continued by explaining that one conversation with a humble craftsman and one afternoon spent with his daughter had completely changed her understanding of leadership. She had witnessed a father who never used tragedy as an excuse, who chose love over self-pity, and who proved every single day that true strength is measured by sacrifice, not convenience. She announced a new company initiative called Families First, giving every employee more flexible schedules, expanded parental leave, grief counseling, and childcare support. Charlotte explained that if a company truly cared about its people, it had to care about the families waiting for them at home. The announcement quickly spread across the business world. Employees applauded. Investors praised the new direction. Even the international investor who had withdrawn earlier asked to reopen discussions after seeing the remarkable cultural transformation inside Sinclair Innovations. A few weeks later, Charlotte visited Adrian's furniture workshop without cameras or reporters. She found him teaching Mia how to carefully sand a small wooden birdhouse. Sawdust covered the floor, sunlight streamed through the open workshop doors, and gentle music played in the background. It was simple, peaceful, real. Charlotte smiled as she watched father and daughter laughing together. She finally understood that the life she had once dismissed as too complicated was actually filled with the kind of happiness money could never buy. Months passed. Their friendship slowly grew into something deeper. There were no dramatic proposals. No glamorous headlines. Only quiet dinners, school concerts, weekend picnics, and long conversations about family, hope, and the future. Charlotte never tried to replace Mia's mother. Instead, she became another person who loved and supported the little girl with patience and respect. One sunny spring afternoon, Adrian and Charlotte returned to the same conference hall where everything had begun. The host smiled mischievously and asked Charlotte if she still believed she would never marry a single dad. The audience laughed. Charlotte looked toward Adrian, then toward Mia, who was proudly holding both of their hands. With tears shining in her eyes, she smiled and answered softly. "I was wrong. I thought I was avoiding a complicated life. What I was really avoiding was the happiest family I could have ever hoped to find." The entire audience stood and applauded. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, share it with someone who believes people deserve to be known before they are judged. Leave your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to Kindness Paradise for more emotional stories about love, family, and second chances. Special request. Comment. Love begins when judgment ends. As the warm afternoon sunlight bathed the conference hall in a golden glow, Charlotte realized that the greatest decision of her life had not been building a successful company. It had been opening her heart to a humble single father and a little girl who taught her that the most beautiful families are not always the ones we plan, but the ones love quietly brings into our lives.